GOP Senate candidate demands schools notify parents if their kids identify as chipmunks. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is this very typical tactic on the
Mhm.
Republican side to demonize and come out and make a stand against something that doesn't exist. And of course, that everyone would agree could agree is strange or wrong or whatever, to make this complete straw man argument that they can then say, here I am, I'm the white knight to save our kids from uh, identifying as chipmunks. This is just so typical, and this is like Herschel Walker level crazy.
Right. So JD Vance was on the Bill Cunningham show. It's a Christian talk radio show. And the host brought up this line of discussion. There are some students identifying as cats and they bring kitty litter with them to school. Some identify as dogs and they have to be called Fido and little pussycats instead of human beings. One of the worst things is if they do not use the proper preferred nouns and pronouns of other students, K through 12th grade, schools will be required to socially transition using child selected names and pronouns in school. First of all, that's like how many different fear-mongering memes can you throw together in one sentence to create a hellscape of ignorance? I don't know, but that got pretty damn close. He goes on, minor kids like yours, JD Vance, will not be notified if your child wants to socially transition to a different gender or to an animal species. Should you be entitled to know if your 7-year-old identifies as a chipmunk? Um, Instead of saying, you know, Bill, what did you have in your coffee before you came in this morning? Eddie Vance went right along with it and said, I think I'm very much entitled to know that. What a crazy point we've reached in this country, Willie. Willie? Willie. Oh. Where schools are doing this stuff without the approval of parents.
Well, where are we in our political spectrum where politicians are allowed to come out and say these things without any backing, any evidence, or any fact or reality behind the allegations they're making, and they're not held to anything, libely. um, it's
Honey,
just so
honey.
crazy. I mean,
This is an argument that goes back to the Lincoln debates because there were claims being thrown around in the Lincoln debates that were preposterous. And it was decided even back then that they could be as preposterous as they wanted to be. It was all just posturing.
I don't like it when it affects my life, though. So ridiculous.
Indeed.
I mean, I wonder what it's going to take for us to get past that litter box myth. I just wonder what it's going to be. Like, I loved what John Oliver said about it. Like, if there were kids using litter boxes, you would not hear about it through a government representative. You would hear about it from every news organization ever. Like, it would be everywhere.
Yeah.
The evidence, the proof, the story, the interviews with the people, the teachers. There's none of that. It's
Right.
all I heard, I believe, and or just these statements that there is without any evidence, without any pointing to anything. And the litter box one is just so ridiculous, and I'm amazed at how much traction it has, considering all of the other things that are more believable and more realistic that are also false that people are believing as well.
And it doesn't take much, Emily, because I mean, just go back and consider when we were growing up. We're coming up on Halloween. what was the one thing parents were terrified of when we were growing up at Halloween? Who's put razor blades in the apples? Now, there was no strong, there was no widespread outbreak of that I can trace down anywhere. But that was the thing.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my God, somebody could hurt my baby. So don't take anything that's not wrapped candy.
Uh-huh. Because there's no way to tamper with wrapped candy and make it look safe. Like
Right.
that's not possible. Like,
Now, here's the one that's going around right now, which kind of like this one going around right now, and that is that in all of these states that have legalized recreational marijuana or medical marijuana with easy access, um, that people are going to be handing out edibles for trick or treat to kids to get
mhm.
them hooked on marijuana. And it's like, damn, can I get a costume right now?
Well, and how disconnected from their kids' lives are parents that something like this would get through. They would get the kids would get. I mean, because the fear is the kids would get hooked on these drugs.
Yeah.
Um, that it would be prevalent enough to where the kids would get hooked on the drug without the parents being the wiser in any way. And going back to your apples thing and my statement about the wrapper, it was exactly what you said. There was a fear of razor blades in apples, so don't take anything that's not wrapped. If you put a razor blade in an apple, it's gonna be pretty freaking obvious because you're going to see the entry point. Whereas a wrapper is very easily tampered with and glued shut. Um, and so it's just that false statement that leads to a completely not only incorrect but 180 degrees from the truth belief. And it's it's amazing how they're able to do it. It's actually impressive.
Yeah. And it's again just playing on the natural born fears that we have regarding children,
Mhm.
and saying, look, we have to protect our kids. Therefore, if there's any possibility of this completely random, I mean, we might as well just start going around and selling asteroid helmets for kids and saying, look, we've seen an increase in the number of asteroids that have been near miss to the Earth. So we need to protect our kids, and let's start getting them some asteroid helmets so that when or if an asteroid does hit, because it's very likely to do it at some point, they will have some form of protection. Emily, I see a burgeoning market for the Transverse
Because of the
asteroid
space
belt.
tie-in. Ah, ah. I love what Autumn said in chat. They're not going to pass out $20 gummies. Um, but if they were going to do that, like if you were going to give a kid something laced with something, you would want to be around to see what happened. You
Yeah,
wouldn't want to just do it and then laugh about it. Like maybe somebody would, but that's highly unlikely. Like it would be a situation where you're sitting there with the kid, like you know. Um, but anywho, we're digressing. The one thing I wanted to bring up that was sort of interesting and a thought that I've had for a long time along those lines is, you know, everybody always talks about when it was easier and safer back in the day for kids to be outside or to ride their bikes and all of this stuff. Um, and I've long wondered if that was actually true. If it is any less safe for kids to be out riding around on their bikes, or if it's just this perception because of the extra news that's out there about all the bad things going on out there. I believe it's probably just a perception that people are more aware of the dangers out there, that it's not any more dangerous than it was before.
no, just as the prevalence of transgender people is no greater than it was before.
Mm,
The idea is that we have ready access to media that can be anywhere, and so the numbers that we're looking at, whether they are safety numbers or population numbers, they're all very much probably the same percentages that we've always seen. Are there more people? Yes. Are there more incidents? Yes. But that does not necessarily mean that the ratios have increased.